Hillsborough Tower. Blue Angel Leader, inbound your location for the Portland Rose Festival Air Show.
This is the 1988 Portland Festival of Flight, featuring world-renowned aerial acts, including the incredible precision flying of the Navy's Blue Angels, the soaring ballet of sailplanes, and heart-stopping aerial action. And now your hosts, Larry Blackmar and Teresa Richardson.
Good evening. We are at Hillsborough Airport, 15 miles west of Portland, Oregon, where over the weekend more than 100,000 people gathered for the first annual Portland Air Show.
During the next hour, we're going to show you some of the highlights, the thrills and chills of this amazing show. We have seen some unbelievable acts.
Yes, in fact, some of the best in the world. And included, of course, are the Blue Angels. It's their FA-18 Hornets that are sitting on the runway right behind us. And we are going to give you a Hornet's eye view a little later in the program when we show off the Blue Angels. In fact, earlier this week, Teresa had an opportunity to ride with the Blue Angels. What an experience that must have been.
Incredible, to say the least, but we'll talk more about that later. Right now, we're going to check up with Jack McGowan, who is out and about in the huge crowds this afternoon for the show.
No question about it, it's a special day here at Hillsborough Airport and a special place right now in the stands. We're with Marion Kreider right now from Portland.
Yes.
Marion, what are you here for?
The Blue Angels.
No question about it. Those are your favorites. Eric, what about you?
Blue Angels.
Oh, that was easy. The Blue Angels. And who are you?
Chris Carter.
And Chris, how about you? What are you going to go for?
The Blue Angels.
Well, it seems like it's unanimous here, the Blue Angels. Well, back to you.
Jack will be back a little bit later in the program to show us the many activities that are taking place right here on the ground. You know, not all the excitement is in the sky.
No. In fact, a lot of the activities in the air show are much like a carnival. Things are going on everywhere. Now, first up tonight, we want to show you just why an air show can be so exciting, and of course, that has to do with the performers. I had an opportunity earlier this week to meet with one of our top performers in this first annual Portland Rose Festival Air Show, and she was at her regular job. Now, for her, that means working for United Airlines. It means keeping up an incredibly fast-paced schedule, and it means performing at an air show on the weekend.
She's a native of the Puget Sound area, and for her, coming to Hillsborough is almost like coming home. We'd like you to meet Joanne Osterud.
My very, very first airplane ride was at Hillsborough when I was in college, and at that point you could get an introductory ride for $5. And I had a lady instructor, and the weather was just awful. It was pouring down rain.
Not in Oregon, no.
No.
Couldn't have been.
Oh, well, the rain doesn't stop you
No,
from doing
of course
anything.
not.
No.
And literally nothing has stopped Joanne Osterud from fulfilling her dream of making a career in aviation. Today, when she isn't part of the flight crew on a United Airlines 727, she's thrilling airshow crowds in her high-performance biplane. It's two very different types of flying. The big planes pay the bills, and the little one satisfies her urge to fly.
This is like driving a fine luxury car, whereas the little airplane is like getting to ride a dirt track on one of those really neat track, a dirt bike on a neat dirt track. Right. They're both driving, they both have wheels, they both take a lot of the same skills, but yet they're very, very different.
Her little hyperbike, or high-performance biplane, was hand-built by two brothers in Washington State and is designed specifically for the challenge of strenuous aerobatics. After 17 years of performing in some 26 air shows each year, Joanne knows her business and loves the challenge.
Just like flying the big airplanes. It's a challenge every day. There's always something new every day. There's always something new to learn. And best of all, it's just oodles of fun.
Joanne has been flying for 20 years and has a 17-year history of performing in air shows.
Very experienced and very capable. She does some things you won't see in any other air shows. You may wonder how she can fly upside down like that. A special fuel system, an oil system that keeps the fuel and oil in the proper place while she's inverted. All the way to the top and over. What a beautiful maneuver. The smoke streaming out of the wings and the tail, of course, give you a good perspective of just what turns are being made. You had a chance to ride with the Blue Angels. I got a chance to ride with Joanne Osterud. It was the first time I've done any aerobatic flying, and it was spectacular.
Well, you got to take off and land it, didn't you?
I did. I got to fly it myself and actually do a hammerhead stall. And really an exciting move.
Piece of cake, right?
Yeah, well, for Joanne Osterud. Climbing, and there's a hammerhead stall at the top. The camera placed in her cockpit actually gives you a better perspective of where she sees as she comes over the top in one of those maneuvers.
Just looking at the hyperbike, it seems it would be ill-suited to meet the challenge of the strenuous aerobatics, but this illusion really adds to the thrill.
What I try to do is share the fun I'm having with the people in the audience. I look at it like a freestyle figure skating routine. In other words, the airplane can only do so many things. It can do a loop, a roll, and a snap roll. Just like a figure skater can go forward, you can twirl, or you can do a circle. You can do it backwards or forwards, that doesn't really matter. But there are only so many things a figure skater can do. But it's how it's put together that makes us all such avid watchers.
Welcome back to Festival of Flight, highlights from the 1988 Rose Festival Air Show. It's been 8 years since an air show of this kind has been in the Portland, Vancouver area, and I'm glad we got one this year for the Rose Festival.
The Rose Festival goes back many years, and in fact, about the time of the fourth Rose Festival, about 1912, a man named Phyllis Christopherson actually launched an aircraft off the top of the Multnomah Hotel. Now, as far as we can tell, it was the only time in history that's occurred, although his aircraft is described as a shabby box kite.
There are several legends in the world of aviation, and few can hold a candle to our next performer. He flew side by side with Chuck Yeager in the effort to break the sound barrier. He holds numerous world records, and we could probably spend the next hour just talking about all of his accomplishments.
He's a terrific guy. In fact, his name is Bob Hoover, and during his lifelong career, he's been a fighter pilot, a test pilot, and a master of aerobatics. He is one of the best in the world, and now we'll find out why they call him a pilot's pilot.
Making an 8-point turn, stopping at each point around the circle, 360 degrees. Incredible control, and what precision.
It's designed to take people and their cargo from point A to point B.
Now this is called a zero airspeed stall, which means simply that he goes up as far as the aircraft will go. His airspeed is 0, and he's got full power and virtually floats there for a moment, and then starts back down. Contrary to popular belief, when the power's off on an airplane like this, it will float to the ground. It won't fall like a rock, and under the control of a good pilot like Bob Hoover, he can bring it down just as soft as a feather. And Hoover approaching the field, shuts off the power on both engines, pulls it down, and will come up and stall the aircraft. Both engines are turned off right now. And over the top, streaming smoke from the wings and from the tail. Climbing again, coming up over the top. We should mention, too, he was accepted in the Aviation Hall of Fame. That was in December of '87. What an honor that is for him.
The best pilots always bring forth thoughts of the best aircraft, those that have played such an important role in the defense of our country. Well, we at the Portland Rose Festival Air Show have been privileged to have some of the finest restored military aircraft here.
The Confederate Air Force is a nationwide organization dedicated to preserving and restoring vintage World War II aircraft, and the Confederate Air Force has brought some of its finest to Portland.
Among the Confederate Air Force fleet visiting the Rose Festival Air Show is Fifi, the only flyable B-29 Superfortress in the world. It was the largest and fastest piston-engined heavy bomber used in wartime, and pilot Perry Hickerson spent more than his share of time in a B-29 cockpit, enough time to reflect.
When you know that the searchlights are there for you and the flak is coming up for you, and you're flying in through alone at night, why, it's time to reflect a little bit about whether you will be back the next morning.
The B-24 Liberator was the workhorse bomber during World War II. The Confederate Air Force brought Diamond Lil to Portland, one of only two in the world still flying. And with 56 missions under his belt, Ralph Raines has had some very close calls.
We were one of the less than a handful of crews in the whole 15th Air Force that never collected a Purple Heart, but we had some close ones. I got the rear end of my flying suit shot out one day, and my wife, a German girl just born here by a hair's breadth, and she says those Germans didn't aim close enough.
The legend of the Flying Fortress, the B-17, lives on in the hearts of American airmen for its ability to sustain heavy damage and still bring the crew home. Pilot Don Hill remembers.
The thing is, it served me well, it served a lot of people well. It could take tremendous battle damage. I recall that I guess that maybe 1,500 Americans would still be PWs or dead had it not been for the way this airplane was built.
While there's plenty of excitement up in the sky, there's a lot of excitement down here on the ground. There are more than 20 different types of aircraft represented here, and it's a thrill to get up close to these incredible machines. The variety is impressive, everything from state-of-the-art to antique. This B-29 Superfortress was the most advanced heavy bomber in World War II. And this particular B-29, named Fifi, is the only one that can still fly. This is the kind of warranty we all could use. There are several planes from the World War II era, a B-17 bomber and transport aircraft, and all-around fighters. For the veterans, they brought back the memories.
Well, to be this close to one, see, like I say, I was down below on the ground being bombed by it. And it's a good feeling. Glad we had them on our side.
Nice to work on.
Yeah, hold Ryan up.
Yeah, used to work on these in 1942.
There are biplanes dating back to the 30s, and some unusual experimental planes, one even reminiscent of the record-breaking Voyager. The Oregon Air National Guard pulled out the stops for the hometown crowd. The team now performs all over the country as well as in Canada. It's a group Oregonians can be proud of, and Captain Mike Bush makes no bones about it.
As far as flying formation and
trying to look like the Blue Angels, which we really weren't trying to do. We were just trying to do what we do best in the F4 for an air show, which is go fast and be loud. And from what everybody is commenting on today, we did that pretty well.
No question about it, flying like that is certainly a thrill, and unfortunately, not many of us get that opportunity. But Teresa, I understand that you had a special flight recently with none other than the Blue Angels.
Last Wednesday, I had a chance to ride with Lieutenant Doug McLean of the Blue Angels. We spent about 40 minutes in the air, and I was actually prepared for the worst. I'd heard all these stories about blacking out, getting sick, and so I was prepared for all those kinds of things. But we took a trip to the coast, and during that time, we were able to try barrel rolls and loops and vertical climbs. And we flew inverted, and we tried the 4-point and 8-point rolls. I even got to take a hold of the stick and try right and left-hand rolls. That was my favorite part of it.
How long did it take you to get to the coast, really?
Well, we took a little time because we were doing maneuvers along the way, but it probably would have taken us about 5 minutes to get there.
We have, of course, shown you the fastest of jets. Now we're going to show you one of the world's very smallest of jets. And in addition, we'll show you what a jet joust is all about.
It's called the BD-5, and it is the world's smallest jet plane. Capable of high speeds and terrific maneuverability, Mike Brundage is at the controls. We have a camera right over the right shoulder of Mike Brundage, so you can get a bird's eye view of just what he sees as he flies the mini jet. Pretty exciting footage. Price tag on that little mini jet is about $160,000, and it was one that was built for Richard Bach, the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull. He flew it for a while, gave it to a museum, and in turn sold it to Mike Brundage. It's a great little plane, moves very quickly and very low.
It was also used in the James Bond film Octopussy. The world's smallest jet is 12 feet long, 6 feet tall, and has a wingspan of 17 feet, weighs just 500 pounds.
It's tiny, but you know, when you see it fly by, it is everything you thought of as a jet plane. It just moves so quickly. Now, we promised you a jet joust, and Brundage's team is standing at Show Center out on the runway. They have balloons. It's flying. And he got it. Filled with powder, it exploded as he hit it with his wing.
Watching a sailplane soar like that makes you forget how really difficult they are to fly. And Brett Willett can do things with a sailplane that few others can.
Brett can maneuver a sailplane better than most pilots can maneuver power-driven planes. But in fact, there's nothing holding that plane up there, and you have to remember that, except for Brett's skill and his knowledge of aerodynamics.
Brett and his wife Karen own the Sky Sailing Glider Port in Fremont, California. One of the largest and busiest glider ports in the country, and a lot of student training going on there.
In fact, the Willets are so hooked on soaring that they were married in a sailplane in 1980 with the minister in their 3-seater and the wedding party flying 5 other sailplanes in formation.
Isn't that great? I wonder where they had the reception. Somewhere on the ground, hopefully.
Flying in a sailplane is as pure a form of flying as there is. Unless, of course, you're a bird.
Yeah, unless you have feathers. Can make it up there somehow. think in most people's mind, the sailplane is something that goes out, catches thermals on the side of a mountain, and goes as far as it can. And the idea is to achieve distance, and that has been true in the past. I think Brett, though, shows you a whole new side of sailplane flying, and that you can do almost any kind of aerobatic, and you can really do things in a very graceful way.
Well, Brett says that sailplanes are capable of nearly anything a powered craft can do, and I think his act proves that.
First off, I start off with lulling the audience into thinking, well, this is all a sailplane can do, is the nice, big, graceful turns. And most people have never seen a sailplane before, so they're surprised that when I start the aerobatics and the sailplane does do loops and rolls and flies inverted, and then we get down right onto the deck, and most people think, oh my goodness, where's he going to land when I come by at about 120 miles per hour, and then I go the length of the runway, pull up, turn around, and then I can still go the full length again, but it's a surprise to the audience.
He has a perfect touch. And speaking of a perfect touch, you know, the Blue Angels Precision Flying Team is not the only formation team in the Festival of Flight. In fact, you're about to meet a civilian formation flying team that has been in existence longer than any in the history of aviation.
They're known as the Eagles, and these pilots have won every major award in the world of aerobatic competition, including several U.S. and World Championships. They have been entertaining crowds for 17 years.
Eagles Aerobatic Flight Team. What a takeoff that was. Get you right off the right feeling for the performance.
Charlie Hillard is the flight leader, and Gene Salcy is the other pilot.
In addition to the kind of maneuvers that you might see from Joanne Osterud, these are flying in formation, which requires incredible concentration and real ability as a pilot to anticipate everything. They fly as one. It's hard work, but I imagine they just really enjoy it.
Flying is in their blood.
Yeah. Up to the top and a hammerhead turn to the left. And spinning as they come down. What a great sight. Hillsboro, Oregon has never looked better. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at this. Up over.
They're going to make a heart?
They're making a heart formation, yes. They really know how to play to the crowd. That makes it more exciting.
They make it look fun.
Yes. It should be fun.
Side-by-side loop.
Knife edge turns, come out of it inverted, and back upright. You'll see that a little bit later in the show when the Blue Angels are back. A little faster, but it takes no less skill to do it.
That looked close.
Snap rolls as they approach each other. One inverted, one straight and level. Well, that's great. As with all formation flying teams, of course, the incredible interdependence on each other. You have to know where the other one is all the time and know what to expect from them.
Coming right toward the crowd.
Beautifully done.
Oh.
Completely out of control. Back down. Beautiful bomb burst formation at the beginning of that maneuver.
They have put on a tremendous show non-stop for several minutes.
It is incredible, and they do it so well. I mean, they play to the crowd well, and their maneuvers all are choreographed so well that most of it takes place right in front of you, so you never have a moment to lose attention on them. Look at these spins.
Coming up next, Jack McGowan finds that kids of all ages love air shows.
We're here in the grandstands along with Beth, Josh, Jeremy, and Matt Dimmitt, part of the Spectators. How are you enjoying yourselves?
We're really enjoying the show today.
What's your favorite? What are you going to be waiting for?
The Blue Angels.
No question about it, huh?
Not at all.
Well, even though little Jeremy here is underwhelmed, everyone else in the grandstands is having a great time at the Maxwell House Rose Festival Air Show.
Air show is the best I've ever seen. This beats Reno as far as I'm concerned. This is fantastic.
The one plane that went up, that was fantastic too. That was great. I'm just enjoying the whole day. I really love it.
Hey, this is great. Only we can't watch the air show.
It's wonderful. I'm enjoying it very much, very much.
Well, we came down here for the air show and for the Rose Festival. And we really enjoy it. We've enjoyed the jets and the aerobatics, everything. Really great. Good weather, too.
We have some proud people right now. This is the Bush family, and their son and her husband just flew by in an F-4C. What did you think?
I think it's fantastic.
You proud of your son?
Very.
It seems like it's written all over your faces.
Absolutely fabulous. And the weather's gorgeous. It's miraculous.
Wow. As the Harrier prepares for its performance, let us tell you a couple things about it, because once it starts, it's so noisy, I'm not sure we'll want to be talking much. But it was designed by British Aerospace in 1981 and built by McDonnell Douglas under special license. It's used by the U.S. Marine Corps, and in fact was the major aircraft used in the Falkland War. 200 of them were used there. They can rotate the jet nozzles, and that's how they get the maneuverability that you'll see in just a few moments. The incredible benefit of the Harrier is that it can land and take off on a 72 square foot pad. It doesn't need a runway.
That is
and
amazing.
Therefore, for support of ground troops like the U.S. Marine Corps, it is superb. Almost to a complete stop. And now completely stopped and hovering. show that can actually tip its nose to the audience and salute. The Portland Rose Festival Air Show marks a homecoming for Suzanne Asbury Oliver. She's known as the Pepsi Skyrider. And a few days ago, Teresa Richardson had a chance to meet her.
The biggest difference between this airplane and all modern-day airplanes is that it's an open cockpit, and you're sitting actually out in the open. If it's sunny, you know, you're getting sunburned, and if it's raining, you're getting wet, and you're really out in the element.
Oregon clouds were the elements that greeted Suzanne Asbury Oliver yesterday morning. Bad news for Skyriders, but on a clear day, people for miles around can't help but notice when Suzanne's in town. And this weekend, she's come home, right back to the Hillsborough Airport, where as a teenager, she taught people to fly. Today, Suzanne is with Pepsi, and at 29 is the only female professional Skyrider in the country, with the exception of her co-pilot, CB.
You're a good girl. CB's been flying for 10 years, and she travels all over the country with us and has about 900 hours of flying time.
Suzanne began flying sailplanes with her dad, Willard, when she was only 14.
This is kind of an unusual situation where I happen to be here. Usually it's my husband and myself that do the job, but Steve's off working another airplane. So I asked Dad to ground crew for me this weekend, so he took time off work to come out and give me a hand, and it's fun.
Suzanne flies the plane from show to show, and if this classic could talk, the stories it could tell.
The biplane is fun because it's a very responsive airplane. It's a fun airplane to fly. And it also is fun to think of the history of the airplane that you're flying. This airplane was built in 1929, started skywriting for Pepsi in 1931, and to think of all the things that this airplane's done and been through is kind of a thrill, too.
The biplane's first words were "drink Pepsi-Cola," sputtered out 8 times over New York City. And the pilot responsible for teaching Suzanne the art of skywriting made advertising history in this popular TV commercial. Now, Suzanne is carrying on the skywriting tradition and earning a reputation in flying circles as an ace pilot. But skywriting is harder than it looks.
I think it's a combination of everything that you have to think of all at once. You're counting to yourself the timing, and plus you're having to watch for other traffic and do all the things you have to do to fly normally, and then you're having to do the writing also.
Even under sunny skies, Suzanne has a hard time seeing the big picture.
You're at the same altitude as the word, and like Pepsi will be a mile from top to bottom and stretch 10 miles in the sky. Find this little speck in that huge word. The easiest mistake to make in skywriting is to forget a letter or to add a letter, to do the same letter twice, which either way it's very embarrassing, and there's no erasers, which is the biggest problem. And as soon as you make a mistake, the world's a critic.
Suzanne Asbury Oliver has nothing to worry about. This weekend, she'll be playing to a hometown crowd.
And I think it's just going to be fantastic, and I hope it turns into an annual event.
You know, it used to be that a lot of products were advertised by skywriters, and of course that all faded out, but Pepsi decided it would be nostalgic to bring one back. Now, most of us would find it pretty scary to fly around in some of these wild and crazy airplanes, but imagine the ultimate experience, jumping out of one of them. Our next group comes from the Navy team. They are called the Leapfrog.
They're all members of the Navy's world-famous underwater demolition team, also known as Frogmen or the Elite SEAL Team. Now, their mission is to parachute behind enemy lines, carry out their maneuvers, then leave undetected.
And they've translated their military skills into one of the best free-fall parachuting acts in the world.
Before they rip their cords, these skydivers can reach speeds up to 220 miles an hour in a head-down position.
Isn't that incredible?
That is
Imagine
incredible.
the feeling that must be.
No, thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that amazes me about the Leapfrogs or any of the skydiving teams is how much maneuverability they have. One jumper, in fact, said that they can do anything an aircraft can do in terms of flight maneuverability.
That has to be a real feeling of freedom.
Yeah. And they come back, land right next
Beautiful
to the green
landing.
smoke, and perfect.
Okay. This guy has his head down first here.
Yeah, he's coming down head first. He wants to see where he's going, I think. I was going to say, he must have a strong neck if he's going to come all the way down that way, but I think he'll right himself very soon.
There he
Yeah.
goes.
How about those gymnastics, huh? Beautiful. Not on the announcing stand.
Now, their parachutes are actually inflated. Actually gives them more buoyancy and a little better airflow over the airfoil. Great landing. Look at this. On to
Very
the
nice.
target.
Very
Both of
easy.
them.
It's the part of the air show we've all been waiting for. Up next, the Blue Angels.
Flying Blue Angel number 3, the left wingman. From Syracuse, New York, Lieutenant Commander Mark Ziegler. Flying Blue Angel number 4, the flat pilot. From Pelham, Georgia.
Over the years, the Blues have performed at more than 2,700 air shows, and they've entertained more than 200 million people.
And this month marks their 42nd anniversary. Now, you don't continue that long unless you're very, very good.
Let's see how good they really are. Here they are, the fabulous Blue Angels.
And they're rolling 1 through 4 in the famous diamond formation. Gil Rudd, the leader, will rotate. The aircraft will take off on his command, and they fly as one aircraft. Now, Teresa, this is the way your ride went, I believe. Closing solo number 6 down the runway and straight up.
That's exactly what we did.
What was your feeling right about here?
Well, they told me to just bear down and grunt so that the G-force wouldn't affect me. Oh, that is beautiful. Every 1 second of air, a maneuver moves off center by 1/8 of a mile.
They just can't make mistakes.
They just can't.
One of my favorite parts of the show, where they fly inverted and show just how stable the F-18 is.
The result of hours and hours and hours of practice and rehearsal. The pilots fly twice a day, 6 days a week.
And before even qualifying to be a Blue, you have to have at least 1,500 hours in tactical aircraft. So that means their experience level is very, very high. And the diamond formation, 2 upside down, 2 inverted, and 2 straight.
Ahs from the crowd.
Yeah, quite a reaction. This formation is called an echelon parade. It looks like they are imprinted on each other. If you didn't know better, you'd say they were welded together.
These two are approaching the crowd.
Yeah, one way to get your attention, fly right at you, and then turn like that. Trailing the smoke, and on a day like this, it just makes it that more emphatic. How perfect they are. Isn't that great? That's fun to watch. Airshow Airport. Hearing these guys go over 4 at a time. Crisscross. This is a Delta formation. They are going up and into a roll. All 6 flying as one.
At a speed of 400 miles an hour.
It was nice they slowed up for the air show. All 6 turning 360 degrees. A beautiful roll and bumpers. Isn't that spectacular? Their own form of fireworks. Blue Angels style. All 6 converging on the center of the air show at one time.
This should be good.
It's been a terrific show, and we're glad that you could join us for the 1988 Festival of Flight.
Plans are already being made for next year's show, so we hope we'll see you for the 2nd annual Portland Rose Festival Air Show. Until next year, so long, everyone.
Those planes fly fast, don't they?
And the big fire.
Did you see the fire out of the back of the plane? Were you scared?
No.
Oh, good.